Welcome everyone, Dr. Mandell here. My objective today is to give you ammunition, education about the health and wealth of your lungs. We cannot afford to have our lungs become sick. That's going to affect the entire health of our body. Your lungs is what allows oxygen to supply every cell, tissue, gland, and organ within your body. So when we breathe in or inhale, we use muscles of our rib cage, especially the major muscle, the diaphragm. Your diaphragm tightens and flattens, allowing you to suck air into your lungs. To breathe out or exhale, the diaphragm and rib cage muscles relax, and this naturally lets the air out of the lungs. So to get oxygen into our lungs, we breathe it from our mouth or our nose. Trap particles of foreign matter like dirt, dust, or other pollutants as it passes through the throat into our windpipe or our trachea. Now the trachea divides into the left and right bronchi like a branch. Each bronchus divides again and again, becoming narrower and narrower. The smallest airways end in the alveoli. These are the small, thin air sacs that are arranged in clusters like bunches of balloons. So when we breathe in by enlarging the chest cage, these balloons expand as air rushes in to fill the vacuum. And when we breathe out, the balloons relax as air moves out of the lungs. There are tiny blood vessels that surround each of these 300 million alveoli in the lungs. Oxygen moves across the walls of these air sacs. It's picked up by the blood and carried to the rest of the body. And the carbon dioxide or waste gases passes into the air sacs from the blood and is breathed out. Now, very few of us spend very little time strengthening our lungs. Why? Because most of us think there's no need to. There's never been a need. But today, things have changed. People are more on guard, and we are becoming much more aware of how important our lungs really are. So think about this for a second. You hurt your muscle, maybe your lower back, and the last thing you want to do is to move your lower back because it's painful. So what do? You lay in bed and you rest, and you're noticing that that lower back problem may not be getting better. And that is because those muscles are getting weaker. Because what we don't use, we lose. So let's look at our lungs. We only use about 70 to 80% of our lung capacity every day when we breathe. So that means that 70 to 80% of our alveoli are being used every day, just normal breathing. But what about the 20 to 30% that's not? Because we're not breathing in 100% oxygen. We're not totally expanding our rib cage and opening up our lungs and filling it with that oxygen. We're not practicing what we should be. And that is the big problem. That if a pathogen, bacteria or a virus, gets into our lungs and we're only utilizing 70 to 80% of our lungs, that lack of 30% is what can keep us sick. And that's why it's so important to do these exercises so you can stay healthy. So I'm sure that you remember that when you had a cold or any type of chest congestion, you noticed that it was hard to breathe. And every time you take a deep breath, it would hurt. It hurt when we coughed. And we would continue to take several small breaths because we couldn't get that large breath to work. So I have the answer. We have to strengthen our diaphragm by strengthening that muscle to open up, to bring more air and oxygen into our lungs, to allow all the alveoli to get the amount of oxygen so the exchange of that oxygen can get to every cell, tissue, and organ within our body. By expanding our lungs, we are going to train those lungs to work at its optimal potential, particularly when those foreign invaders, those viruses, try to attack it. So let me share a few important exercises that you should start doing immediately. Take your fingers, put it under your rib cage, push in. Squeeze your abdominal muscles together. You can feel those muscles contract. You can relax them now. Right where your fingers are underneath is the diaphragm. When we take a deep breath, which we're going to do through our nose, the diaphragm is going to pull downwards, sucking in like a vacuum that oxygen to open up the lungs. But I want you to inspire and breathe in as much oxygen as you can as that diaphragm gets lower and lower and lower, and hold it for a second. And then you'll blow it out of your mouth as much as you can. We'll do that 3 times. Okay? Come underneath, just feel underneath the rib cage, because I want you to breathe from the stomach, not from the chest. And if you're taking a deep breath and you see your shoulders rising, you're not breathing correctly. So we're going to breathe from our stomach, opening up our diaphragm, breathe up through the nose. Let's go. Keep breathing in. Pull that diaphragm down, hold it, blow it out of your mouth as much air as you can blow out. That diaphragm continues to come up. Keep breathing out. Push it all out. Breathe in again from the stomach. Hold it. Breathe it out of the mouth. Push it all out. Keep pushing out. Breathe in again in the nose, just from the abdominal area. Hold it. Breathe out of the mouth. Push all that air out as you can, much as you can. Beautiful. Now I want you to give yourself a bear hug as you cross your arms over your chest, however you want to do it. Squeeze against your rib cage, and you're going to breathe in again as you push resistance on your rib cage, because there are muscles in your rib cage that help expand the ribs to open up the lungs. And we're going to put a little bit of resistance on it, and you're going to give me 2 or 3 deep breaths, same way as you push down against the rib cage. Come on. A little harder. Keep breathing in through the nose. Make sure you're opening up from the abdomen, not the chest. Blow it out of the mouth. Good. In through the nose, push against the rib cage. As you feel those muscles resist against your arms, blow in through the nose. Blow it out of the mouth. Beautiful. You'll practice that 2 or 3 sets of those, 3 sets of the initial exercises that I gave you, and this is going to make big changes. You'll notice after that breathing exercise where you hugged yourself and then you let go, your breathing becomes easier, because those ribs, those intercostal muscles, is what helps those lungs get oxygen much easier. Now, another great exercise is similar to what we just did. You'll take a deep breath through the nose. And when you maximize that air as the diaphragm comes down, as you fill your lungs up with oxygen, you're going to take the abdominal area and squeeze it hard backwards to the spine, because you're going to shove that air out as fast as possible to clean those lungs. This is how it would look. Through my nose, pushing the abdominal in against the spine. It sounds strong, but it's very therapeutic. You can practice this up to 5 times. So I'm going to breathe in through my nose, expanding my lungs, bringing the diaphragm down, and pushing my abdominal muscle back as hard as I can, blowing out that air. And you'll feel how your lungs can be cleansed by doing that exercise. And the last technique is you're going to breathe in through the nose the same way you did before. As you fill those lungs up using your diaphragm, and you're going to cough as hard as you can to expel your air. So it's going to be like this. Then you'll do it again. And you'll do that 5 times, and that will do wonders for your lungs. So one of the most important things that we need to realize is that Stale air that sits in our lungs is wasted space, particularly those who have COPD or emphysema. And by practicing these exercises and getting rid of that excessive stale air, that's going to allow more oxygen to get into those lungs, to those cells of your body, to keep you strong and healthy. If there's one thing I would like you to remember when it comes to lung problems, the worst thing that we can do is nothing. Laying in bed. We don't want those lungs to fill up with fluid, which can lead to pneumonia or other complications. Getting around, moving around, walking around if all possible, moving the upper torso, bringing oxygen and blood supply to those lungs. So take a few minutes every day to strengthen that diaphragm, to open up those lungs, to get those lungs strong so you can prevent problems that possibly might occur in the future. Please share this video with your friends and family. Leave your comments below, and most important, make it a great day. I'm Dr. Alan Mandell.